Hello and welcome back to Live Drawing with Octopolis. My name is Brian Miller and today we are going to have a ton of fun drawing the Hitchhiking Ghosts from the Haunted Mansion. Oh my gosh, some of my favorites. I don't know about you guys, but I love the Haunted Mansion. Absolutely one of my favorite attractions at Disney. So thanks for hanging out today for a little spooky Haunted Mansion artwork. Should be a lot of fun. So I've been looking forward to it. I think you guys will enjoy it too. So let's just dive right in. I really like the Haunted Mansion. I really like the Hitchhiking Ghost. I wanted to do kind of like I hate to use the word animated because that word's thrown around so much, but sort of a more like an animated style or just a fun cartoony style, I guess is a better word for it, right? The kind of thing you might see, maybe if you were to visit Disney, the kind of thing you might see on some enamel pins or stickers or that sort of thing. I thought, what would be a fun and light and Disney appropriate take on the Hitchhiking Ghost. Now, I was looking back through my archives and I did some artwork for the anniversary of the Haunted Mansion, back the one in Disneyland when it was turning 45 years old. And I used some silhouettes of the Hitchhiking Ghost. This is actually the first time I've really drawn them. Hey, good to see you there, Quench Press. Thanks for joining us today. Hope you are having a very good week and a good day. I will let you guys know that I've been expecting a very important call all day, and it's supposed to happen between 9 and 1, and it's now after 1 my time. I don't think we're going to get interrupted, though. I just called them, and they said, they're running a few hours behind, so I think we'll have time to get everything done here. But fair warning, just in case that emergency call comes through, I may have to deal with it, but I think we're going to be okay. But I hope you guys are having a good time. If you're like me, you miss going to the Disney parks, you miss the Haunted Mansion. Normally this time of year, you're getting like your last chance to get on the Haunted Mansion before they do the Nightmare Before Christmas kind of cover up or wrap, or I forget what they call it for the holidays. Overlay, right? The Nightmare Before Christmas overlay, that's what they call it. That usually is happening sometime in the month of October. It's one of my favorites. I thought it'd be fun to draw something a little spooky today. And if you want a commission, my commissions are open right now. So obviously I do tons of Star Wars and Disney stuff, but being that it's October, if you want Haunted Mansion or Addams Family or the Munsters, right? We did a Eddie Munster not too long ago. That was a really fun one. I'd never drawn him before. Tuesday Addams, something like that, right? So feel free to hit me up in the chat or on social media. Love to do a drawing for you. And Quench, since I know you're on here, all those packages are packed up and ready to ship today. So finally, I've got about 10 or 11 artist proofs going out today, and a bunch of sketches and stuff going out today. So if you've ordered something from me recently, odds are it will be shipping today. I was up late last night packing all that stuff, and this one doesn't affect you, Quench, but the my store is run through Shopify, and I have a little Etsy store too, but my main store is through Shopify, and they just did an update on their shipping stuff, and it's supposed to be really helpful to get you the best shipping rate, because all the shipping rates go up this time of year. But one of the weights was wrong on a package, and so it was showing it was heavier than it was, so it automatically selected like a UPS rate, and then when I put in the correct weight, it moved that down, and it showed me that USPS was cheaper. And I saw the new rate, and I clicked OK, and I printed the label, and I I realized, well, it was still the UPS label. It had shown me the lower price, but it would still selected the other one. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I have something. I learned a lesson today, which is sometimes the helpful upgrades aren't always helpful. So now I have I think I have 8 poster tubes going USPS and 2 that are going UPS, just out of pure accident. We'll see which ones get there first. It'll be a race. We're off to the races. But I'll tell you what, guys, my life isn't back to normal yet. Well, there's no normal in 2020, but it's not back to how it was before the move yet. But I think we're getting closer. So we've got Christy's birthday week this week, and that's been going pretty good. And most, not all, but most of our moving stuff is finally done. I mean, I feel like we had everything unpacked, last weekend or the weekend before, but as far as, getting things where it goes and getting things to work and, all that stuff, there's just so much more than you remember if you haven't moved in a while, and especially trying to move during COVID. It's just been so challenging. And so we have a lot of stuff sorted finally. There's a few weird loose ends because of COVID. It's been really hard to get things done with appliances and stuff. So we've got some things that are on back order or whatever, but that's okay. We can deal with that stuff. It's the day-to-day stuff that's finally starting to feel a little sorted, to where I'm having actual productive days again, and not just stressing out and freaking out every day, being how are we going to get everything done? There's not enough hours in the day. But yeah, speaking of getting back on track, Christy and I we laid down a couple of new videos for Patreon members yesterday, so those will start releasing. I think the first one comes out today. So yeah, we really do. I feel like we're getting back on track, which is nice, because we want to make lots of good content for all of you that are subscribed to us here on Twitch and on Patreon. So we've got lots of good stuff coming your way all the time. Right, that's the plan. I see in the last week we've gained 2 new Patreon members, which to some of these big fancy Patreon channels may not seem like a lot, but we appreciate every new member. And for those of you who don't know, we have a level on our Patreon where you get artwork in the mail every month. Nice art prints, sometimes enamel pins, but some sort of artwork or collectible. And it's usually art prints. And so those are shipping right now. But even if you haven't joined, you can join today and still get October's art print. So definitely something to consider. But definitely, October's one of my favorite times of the year. So that's putting me in a good mood. I'm in the Halloween spirit. Christy's good about Halloween, but she's not much for costumes, and she's going to be on this big upcoming YouTube deal with some other female creators, and they all want to dress up, and she wasn't really feeling it, and so I got her some cat ears. I figured that would work. So she's like, yeah, I could wear cat ears. I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. I think these are actually bat ears, but you get the idea. Just like a little headband with bat wings on it, so that she can, be a little in costume. Because I was like, she's all freaking out about the costumes. I'm like, they're only going to see you from here up. It's fine. Oh, Quench Press redeemed to hydrate. Thank you. Cheers to you. I don't know if you guys can see the top of this can. Well, you really can't tell from that view. Let me try a side view. It's all jacked up. Can you see that? How crazy that is? It's like someone dropped the whole case of water or something. Oh, thank you so much. But yeah, every Every can I've pulled out of that case has been looked like it'd been dropped off the back of a truck or something. It's insane. But guys, let me know what you're up to this week. I've been really focused on Christy's birthday and trying to solve some more of the house issues. Like I said, we're getting close. We've got, like, it feels livable now, which is good. So we're having laundry is a struggle until we get some of that stuff sorted, but it's all in progress at least, which is nice. And I've been doing a lot of more comics stuff lately, so that's been good too. I wouldn't say the comics industry is like in full rebound, but they're actually making some projects again, which is nice. Quinch Press is doing yard work and trying to find someone to install the new fence. Oh, I hear Evan. I hear the sound of Evan arriving. Good to hear you there, Evan. Thanks for being here today. So, Quinch, I know you were telling us about your fence last stream. So I guess it's damaged and it needs some repair work, but it's significant enough that you need like a professional to come in and do it. Is that right? Catherine says, I'm packing and actually going to Arizona for 2 months. Wow, that's awesome. Obviously you don't have to say publicly in the chat, but if you feel like saying it, let us know what part of Arizona you're coming out to visit. But that's great. You're picking the right time to come. The weather is finally breaking. Like normally September is when things start to get really nice here. And it's just now starting to happen. So I feel like we're like almost a month behind. But like this morning it was in the 60s. And then it still might, I don't know if it's going to hit 100 today or not, but it might. Which is really strange for this time of year. Like, you know, we might get up to like 85 or 90, but it's weird that like even yesterday I think it still got to 105, but we can know it's fall because like as soon as the sun goes down it gets to like 85. You're like, okay, I can deal with that. Oh, thanks for the cheer, Evan. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Catherine says Sierra Vista. Oh, cool. All right. I kind of have a pretty good idea where that is. Good. Well, please enjoy the weather while you're out here. And I don't know if you'll be doing any sightseeing or if you'll be, you know, in lockdown. But if you get a chance to get out and enjoy some of the scenery, I hope you do. I don't remember where you're coming from, Catherine, but depending on what part of Arizona you're in, there are definitely people out here who don't believe in COVID at all in some parts, so you have to be mindful of whatever your own beliefs and your own safe practices are. I just noticed even here, moving from one side of the valley to the other, where we are now, there seems to be a lot less care and a lot fewer people who seem to take the threat seriously, and more people who are like, it's just a hoax, whatever. So not everyone's like that, but there's definitely people like that here. So you just do you know, whatever it is whatever your safe best practices are, because we don't seem to have a lot of not everyone is well informed, put it that way. Catherine says, only been there in summer and Christmas. Well, Christmas is a great time to be in Arizona. Yeah. Obviously, because we live here, that's when people want to come visit us, and Christmas and New Year's, and I'm always all for it. Christmas here is pretty good as long as you don't get homesick for snow and things like that. But I'm a big fan of New Year's time here, because right after New Year's, there's just so many nice events in Phoenix. There, you know, even if you're not like into certain things, we have like the big car auctions, and we have big golf tournaments and other kind of things, like polo matches and stuff. Like, even if you're not into it, it's just beautiful weather and a nice day out to go out and sit on the grass or something like that. And especially here, you can be outside and social distance, so it's kind of a fun time to be here. Catherine says, going to take care of Grandma, so we'll be in lockdown for sure. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're taking care of family. That definitely seems like it can be a rare thing these days. So good for you. Quinch says, I repaired that fence myself well enough that I think the immediate need to get it replaced is gone. The city came out on Tuesday and re-inspected, but I haven't heard anything back yet. I could replace the damaged section myself, but I'm looking at getting it all replaced with block fencing. Oh yeah, I was actually surprised when you said you had wooden fencing, because I don't know that I've ever seen any place with wooden fencing out here. It's all either the block fence or like the pipe fence for like the horse properties and stuff. So that's interesting. So I wonder what's the most economical route, the block fencing or artificial wood, or I guess it depends on what your setup is there, right? It's crazy how fast that the construction workers can put up the block fencing here, because they just do so much of it. Before we moved, there's like a road project going on, or a new housing development going on over there where we lived, and we saw them. They just put out the pallets of bricks, one afternoon, and by the next day, like, a quarter mile of fence was up. You're just like, wow, that's amazing. And then, it took them like maybe 4 days to do the whole mile stretch. So it's very impressive. Quinch says Sierra Vista is one of Arizona's 2 wine regions. Lots of wineries near there. Ooh, I do like wine. I wouldn't call myself a wine snob, but it is hard for me to find some of the non-Californian wines that I like. Like, we're from Missouri, and there's some wineries there, and a lot of those just taste like sweet grape juice to me. But I know there's other people that appreciate them, so I know I don't have to like everything. But here in Arizona, I haven't tried too many. Catherine's like, ooh, yeah, at least something. Get the hookup with the local, right? You're like, well, if we have to be, locked in and locked down, let's have some cases of wine here. Well, guys, let me know, what's your favorite part of Haunted Mansion if you've been there? And do you like it better as the regular Haunted Mansion, or do you like it better with the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay? Have you got to visit any of the Haunted Mansions outside of the United States? I have not. I would love to, though. That's definitely on my bucket list. I've told you guys before about my near misses with supposed to get to go to Disney Japan for Star Wars Celebration, and then that didn't work out, and then actually been to Paris twice, but didn't get to go to Euro Disney either time. So I thought about it. I could have gone by myself. I kind of thought, well, that's not fun. But I still remember the first time I got to go to Epcot. It was right before my parents told me they were getting a divorce, and I think they must have known, because we went to visit my mother's family in the South, and then we got to drive down to Orlando for the day, and Dad and I went to Epcot, and my mother and sister went to Busch Gardens, and that's when I was like, oh, alarm bells, something's up. But they had set up inside of Epcot a replica of the waltzing scene from the Haunted Mansion. When I say replica, I mean it was a working scene, but instead of the doom buggies, they had just had stairs that went up, and so you get to walk up and walk across where the glass is, like if you were the doom buggy, but you were walking. And then when you came down the stairs, you then got to go underneath the track you just walked on to see how it really worked and everything behind the scenes. It was really, really cool. And I remember, even as like a young kid, that made a big impression on me. And I had already, had thought like, oh man, it'd be so cool to be Imagineer and stuff. But like after that, I was really like, some days I kind of wish I had chased that dream a little bit, but it always seemed just, like too far out of reach. And now that I have some friends that are Imagineers, I can live vicariously through them, which is nice. But it definitely, Haunted Mansion was one of those things that always drew me to Disney. And even when I was like in high school and college and like, I'm too cool for that kiddie stuff or whatever, I want to go to like scary places. I still liked Haunted Mansion. Like, even though I knew it wasn't scary anymore, it still resonated with me, and I liked it from a, just like an enjoyable perspective, because it just has good vibes and good memories. Evan says, I just started watching Iron Fist on Netflix, and it's really good. Oh, cool. I haven't seen it, but I heard good things. But yeah, I haven't seen it myself yet. But you'll have to let us know like what resonates with you or what you like about it the most. And Evan, thanks for watching our new video today. I appreciate that. Like I was saying earlier, Christy and I we're getting all back on schedule with that stuff. So, I know technically we were only like one week off, but we're trying to just get everything going correctly. Quinch says, the one quote I got, the wood was 85% of the cost of the block, so not that much cheaper. Wood only lasts about 7 to 10 years, but you have to paint or stain it every few years. But if I do the full replacement, it'll probably block. Yeah, that makes sense because, the block will just last forever. Now, everywhere else we've lived, the block's been painted, but here, only the block that's facing the street is painted, and everything like that we see in the backyard is unpainted, which I wouldn't like, except for the fact that the previous people had planted all this greenery here, and so it kind of grows up over the fence line anyway, so it doesn't bother me. But it's weird, all the aesthetics of our desert lifestyle. That's right, you thought you were tuning in for Octopolis, but you're getting Desert Living Magazine online today. Catherine says, hey, Quinch Press, I heard wood prices are going up. Quinch says, yeah, they are. There are also shortages. The one wood fence I was looking at getting, they only had 5 panels in stock. Yeah, I believe that. That's what we've been dealing with this move. Is just nothing's in stock. Everything's back ordered. Everything's 2 to 3 to 5 months out. So it makes it really, really a challenge to. Especially like Quinch Press's case, where you've got like the city or whatever hassling you, and you're like, hey, I'm all about fixing this. Storm damage happens or whatever. You're like, I'll fix it, but hey, guess what? Pandemic. Like, I'll tell you what, I'll fix my fence when you guys figure out a way to get like immunizations for everybody. How about that? We'll make that trade-off. Quinch says a lot of it is redwood, so perhaps the California fires are impacting the cost. Oh, well, that could very well be. I think the California fires are going to impact the cost of lots of things. You think about how much of Napa and Sonoma burned. Do you think that would be impacting the cost of American wine? And like you said, wood, all kinds of stuff. I should remind you guys that Christy and I will be doing TNT tonight at the regular time, 7 p.m. Pacific. And tonight's topic is going to be our adventures in the Middle East. Think of it as like a part 2, because we talked about, or maybe in a part 3, but we talked about our trips to Egypt, and we talked about one of our seasons in Oman. So we'll talk about going back to Oman, and also some some common misconceptions about living in the Middle East, things that people assume that maybe aren't true, or maybe the opposite, right? You go over there thinking, I'm going to do X and Y and Z, but then you find out, oh, that's not what people do, or that's not cool, or whatever. So I think it'll be a fun night. And we might as well enjoy these while we can, because, with Christy's schedule, it was originally only supposed to be for 4 weeks. And we don't know how long Christy will be able to continue with the TNT, so you got to get it while it's hot, people. Our basic inks. Those are some happy haunts. Very happy haunts. Looking good. Do you guys know the names of the Hitchhiking Ghost? I bet some of you do. Nerd's like, wait, I didn't know they had names. They do have names. So they each have a name. Everyone pretty much agrees on their first names. Their last names vary depending on different Disney media, but yes, they have names. I'll wait and see if anybody knows before I spoil it. Spooktacular names. Let's see. Let's go with Markers in Disarray. Here we go. Really, guys? Nobody knows the names of the Hitchhiking Ghost? You call yourself nerds and geeks. Come on. Get with it, people. This is important Disney trivia we're talking about here. This is important. It means something. Silence from the peanut gallery. Nobody knows the names of the Hitchhiking Ghost. I'm so offended. Don't even know why I bother trying. Alright, I'm trying to be nice and give you guys time. I mean, everybody knows Madame Leota's name because she's Madame Leota, so that's an easy one, right? She's not a Hitchhiking Ghost, though, but everybody knows that one. Catherine's like, put us out of our misery. Alright, well, I can tell you that one of them's name is Phineas. I know that one from scratch, from heart, whatever it is. Let's see, Phineas. And I think one of them's name is Ezra. What's the last one? I want to say it's like Gus or something. Yeah. I know it's Ezra and Phineas for sure. I think the third one's Gus, if memory serves. But then they have different last names, like I said, because there's been comics and there's been video games and there's been children's books and stuff like that. And so they've had the same first names through everything, but their last names have changed depending on the stories, and I guess that needed to be told. So I think like in the Disney Haunted Mansion comics, their last names are different than like on some of the Disney merch and stuff. But most of the time, you just see them with their first names. Oh, Evan asked if this one's getting color. I don't think so, Evan. I think they're just gonna do grayscale on this one. I mean, it'd be fun to do it in blue paint or something, but I hadn't really planned on it. I mean, I could do it in color. There's nothing stopping me from going and getting out my blue paint and some water. I could finish some of these shadows and then switch gears on the fly, as it were. Speaking of flies, hey, I didn't see that debate last night, but I heard about the fly. I saw somebody tweeted, they're like, if Jeff Goldblum doesn't host SNL this week as a fly, somebody's going to lose their job. I thought that was pretty funny. And I don't want you guys to think like I don't care about America or anything, but I can't watch that stuff. Because I do care. I care a whole lot, but I just can't subject myself to that torture. All right, I'm going to give you guys a minute to vote. Evan suggested I do this in color instead of grayscale. Do we have any votes for color? If you want it to be in color, speak up in the chat. Nerd's like, I'm lurking. My patient showed up early. Catherine says color. Evan says color. All right, you guys. I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. We could do that. Quinch Press is like, well, I kind of like the idea of color. Well, if he kind of likes it. I mean, it's just going to be blue, but, you know, whatever. We can do that. All right, guys. I'm going to take a 60-second break to go get my palette and my water, and we'll come right back. And I'm back.
A few moments later.
Thanks for playing the sound alert, Evan. All right, so let's whip up some sort of a spooky blue-green something here. A few moments later. My poor palette. Man, let me tell you guys, one of the things about palettes is, or about acrylic paint, is that as long as you don't let it dry completely, it'll stay pretty much like cleanable forever. But I threw this palette in the sink the other night after, this was after TNT or Tiki Tuesday or one of those two. And the water drained out of the sink. The stopper thing didn't seal. And so it like dried overnight. So as much as I cleaned and scraped, it still got like gook. And this, I've had this thing forever and it always cleans up perfect. I was really bummed. It's probably one of my favorite palettes. But what are you going to do? My kingdom. For the blank piece of paper. I don't know, guys. I kind of like this like cartoonish take on these characters. Kind of fun. All right. So, color. Get some water. Lots of water. So much water. And some blue. Let's do a hint of green. Just to make it a little more ghostly. Speaking of ghostly, I've had this idea for a while on like either a sticker or maybe like a enamel or a acrylic pin that I've wanted to do that's Ghostbusters related. So I may have to sketch that out on here or something and then let you guys to see if you'd be interested in picking those up. Catherine says, that's why I love alcohol palettes for special effects. There's never a wasted product. Yeah, you got to love that when you got something that you don't have to worry about washing half of it down the drain or anything. I think I mentioned it sometime last week. I've got so much paint. I hate to waste it or set it aside, but I think I'm ready to try like a more high-end gouache or watercolor or something. So, when I hadn't really painted traditionally much in years. I did that Wonder Woman thing for that DC auction a while back, or that's been like 5 years. And before that, I've been even longer. I've just been doing so much digital media. And so when I decided I want to color a few of these sketches, I was like, well, I'll just pick up some, inexpensive acrylics like I used to use, and no big deal. But now I've been doing so many, I really would like to try some of the newer, nicer paints and see if I can get a little bit better results, maybe. I mean, I know part of it's the technique, but these seem to be more streak prone than some of the others I've used. So, Evan says, are we going back to the Middle East tonight? You better believe it. Going back to the Middle East. We're going to talk about some of our first time taking students over. So like some of the misconceptions that people have, when you're taking them someplace exotic like that. And it goes both ways, right? People have their preconceived notions about the place they're going to, and then they also have their preconceived notions about what they should or shouldn't do, and sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong. But yeah, we're going to talk about taking students over and all the wackiness that ensues from that. So it'll be a good one. And Chrissy's been playing tennis and stuff today, and she's enjoying her birthday week, so she theoretically should be in pretty good form tonight too. So it should be a good one. I wanted to pick something easy for her since it's her birthday week, so that she wouldn't have to spend a lot of time getting ready for tonight. I was like, why not the Middle East? because we already said we were going to do an episode for every season that we've been on the dig over there. So I said, why don't we just make this season 2 tonight? Catherine, let us know about your painting. Are you actively painting right now? Is there certain art and creativity things that you're working on? If you have anything to share, feel free. I know I saw Evan posted something in the work in progress group on Discord, and I apologize for not getting in there and answering that yet or commenting on it. Like I said earlier, I'm feeling like not caught up. I don't feel caught up at all, but I feel like I've got my head back above water. The first 2 weeks we were here, I just felt like I was drowning, trying to take care of things, because every day was a new emergency, And finally feeling like, oh, okay, being productive on comics and art and just starting to make a little bit of strides towards catching up on everything. I'm a very, how do you put it? People talk about my chill energy or whatever, and that's true. I can be like super laid back. I can also be like uptight about certain things, and one of those things is deadlines, and I don't like falling behind on my schedule, even if it's a schedule I've just set for myself, because I know what happens. I know what happens when you fall behind. And so that can make me uptight and irritable and all the things that are no fun. So it feels good to, even if I'm not caught up, I feel like I'm still really behind on things, but I don't feel like I'm drowning anymore, so that's good. I don't know why I'm using this big brush. I'm so bad about that, guys. I just dive in. I don't know if it's from growing up without things. Just being in that situation where you're like, use what you've got. So then even though I've got like 6 paintbrushes sitting here, I forget. I'm just like, this is what I want to have. I have to paint everything with it. Yeah, I think we'll do this like 2-tone effect, and then we can go back and lay in some like shading and stuff on it. Catherine says, I'm a makeup artist by trade, however COVID, right? Yeah, no doubt. So I'm trying my hand at digital art, so I very much appreciate your Patreon. Oh, that's really cool. Catherine, are you mostly interested in like a certain type of art, or like Photoshop on the computer, or like Procreate on the iPad, or like that kind of thing? Like what's the thing that you're most interested in growing or experimenting with? It's kind of weird how these things go. Like Christy and I we've authored 3 books on Photoshop now, and I think 2 on the iPad. And when we did the ones on the iPad, we were just too far ahead of our time. Like nobody cared. Like even some people at Adobe and stuff back then, we're just like, making art on the iPad, psh, no one will do that. That'll never catch on. Which I knew meant that I was on the right track, because when I first started coloring comics digitally, that's the same thing people would tell me all the time, right? They say, oh, this digital color thing, that'll never catch on. And so we were kind of ahead of our time on the iPad art stuff, and we did a couple of Apple iBooks on that, and we spoke at a bunch of like digital art presentations and stuff in Palo Alto, where we got to meet people from Pixar and people from Adobe, and that part was really cool. But that whole iPad art world, it just has been moving so fast that those books were quickly out of date, like very quickly out of date, because the software changes and stuff. And so it's now once the iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil and stuff came out, that world is really hot now, and I still create a lot of my own artwork with the iPad, but I've shied away from the whole art education side of it for a while, and I feel like if there was enough demand, maybe not even education, maybe Christy and I just need to get in and just start making some like video reviews of some of the apps and stuff. I've always loved Procreate and Adobe Draw as two of my favorites. And the newer Adobe apps, they're okay. You kind of feel like they're the biggest software developer, for art. When it comes to iPad, they seem like the redhead stepchild. You're like, oh, good for them. They're trying. But it's definitely something I've been talking to Christy about. Like, oh, we should cover more of that. Evan says, I've got my traveling set up for flattening and coloring. That's awesome, dude. Now the question is, are you planning on doing your traveling? Or was this just in case? Just to be prepared. So Evan, where you are you guys seeing a bunch of people from California migrating to where you are? I mean, I know Oregon has that all the time anyway, but because of COVID specifically. Because we've had a lot of that here, but recently, this is the time of year we start to get snowbirds, but right before the snowbirds were coming back, we were getting a lot of Texas as well, and that's something we don't normally see here. Most people, I think if they move to Texas, they love Texas and they're not about Arizona, because Arizona would seem like probably for them, depending on where they are, like a step backwards or something. But we've had quite a few. Seen lots of Texans moving here, but I'd say it's still mostly California. But now that it's snowbird season, it's all the northern and midwestern states all coming back for the winter. They're just now starting to arrive. They usually stay here from like Thanksgiving until tax day is kind of considered snowbird season here. So that's when we see them the most. But some of these little cities out here, they'll double in size, it's crazy. Catherine says, Procreate. I used Photoshop for years ago, but I like the iPad. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I think I've said it before. I mean, if it wasn't for the need to do like professionally printed color work, I probably would have switched everything I do to the iPad like 5 years ago, because it's just that good, So yeah, we'll definitely do some videos on Procreate then, because that's something I've been thinking about. And if people are interested, then why not? Because our Patreon is there. You guys are there to support us, and we're there to give you the benefits, whether that's entertainment, education, or just like-minded people to connect with, right? I mean, especially now with COVID, like that's what it's for, right? I mean, I also learned something new. Let me know what you guys think about this. I saw two things. Okay, this will be like a little quiz or a poll, right? So Patreon has two things we can do now. One is we can have special merchandise that people get after staying in the same or staying subscribed for 3 months in a row. So that could be something like as small as a sticker or a pin, or as big as like an art print. So even on the levels where we don't currently offer any kind of physical reward, that would be a way we could do that occasionally. Or if I made some special new art that people wanted or something. So let me know if that's something that sounds cool. The other thing that we can do now is we could do like just a special tier on Patreon and only have it unlocked for like 1 month. So say I had some really super duper awesome piece of art that everybody wanted, and most people are on the $10 tier. Well, for 1 month, I can make that like a $35, just a separate tier, and people from the $10 tier could join the $35 tier for 1 month only, get that thing, that tier goes away, and then they go back to their $10 tier. So this is some new stuff they're playing with that they're rolling out, but we don't want to overwhelm people with too many options, but I know there are some people that are that don't want to be on the tier where they're getting a physical good every month, but they might want like something 4 times a year or something like that. So we want to adjust to you guys, and we want to do what works best for you. But let us know what you think about that, because it's really hard to balance. Some people just want the digital rewards, right? They don't want anything to show up in their mailbox. And some people are like, I'm not going to give you and Christy a penny unless I get something out of it, right? So we have to be able to reward both of those types of individuals. Evan says, was the Scooby-Doo cover the first thing you colored for comics on the iPad? Oh, gosh, no. No. Let me think about it. Hi-Fi painted a bunch of children's books for Disney Press, Marvel children's books. And not all of those were painted on iPad, but I painted the covers for every one of those, and those were all painted on iPad for sure. But they weren't all painted on Procreate, because a lot of that was done before Procreate existed. I think I painted some of those on Sketchbook Pro. I think I probably ended up painting them on 3 different apps back then. But that was well before Procreate even existed. So yeah, I was painting stuff on iPad as soon as the iPad version 2 came out. That was the first one with a camera. The version 1 didn't have a camera and didn't support enough stuff. And in version 2, like, your phone is more powerful than version 2 would have been, but at the time, we just did whatever we could to make it work. But I forget what year we're talking about, but yeah, I was doing tons of stuff. So what I would do back then is I would, paint the art on the iPad, and then the iPads didn't have very much resolution yet, and so I'd have to bring it into Photoshop and then like res it up, clean up the edges and stuff, and then convert it to CMYK and all that stuff then. But eventually, by the time like the first iPad Pros came out, they were fine. They could do anything at that point. And then once the Apple Pencil came out, that really solved the only problem, is that so many of the stylus that was available for the iPad were good but not great, and none of them, even the ones Wacom made for iPad back then, were not as good as a Wacom tablet on a computer. And now I would say the opposite is true, right? I think Apple Pencil on an iPad has now surpassed anything Wacom has ever done on any kind of device. So, in my opinion. Now, technically or theoretically, right, they do have tilt and some other things that Apple Pencil also theoretically does not have. But in practice, Apple Pencil on Procreate, just the results are outstanding. So really hard to argue that. So yeah, it'd be nice to get in and do some more stuff. I used to, for a long time I was doing everything on the iPad almost, except for the CMYK conversions. But like I said, we were just a little bit ahead of the curve, and nobody was interested, for a long time. Like, Wacom was barely interested until they started making styluses, and even then I don't think they were really interested. I think they were just biding their time till they could make their own portable tablet. So yeah, it's been quite a ride to see the mobile art space take off after all this time. I remember when those apps first came out, people were, the phones were more powerful than the early iPads, and so they were loading that software onto their phones, and they were with their fingers and stuff, drawing and painting amazing pieces of artwork like right on the iPhone, because there wasn't really another way to do it yet. So even if it's not mainstream, there's always somebody out there that's going to figure out a way to make it work, which is kind of cool. But I was really excited. I got to meet Lasseter from Pixar. That was pretty awesome. And what's his name? Brown? I can't think of his first name. From Adobe. He used to make all those wacky Adobe videos back in the 90s. And so that was a real treat. It was definitely one of the benefits of having friends that were in Palo Alto at the time, because we could go there and meet with those companies back then and kind of give them an earful of what was happening in the art space that they had no clue about, which now I'm sure is the opposite. Now they sort of are on top of it, and if anything, maybe are dictating some of it. But like most of these things, the early adopters are out there and the companies play catch up. Evan says, my wife likes to go to the casino, so I stay in the room. Oh, well, that makes sense. Perfect. That's sometime we have to go to long tennis events with Christy. I love to cheer her on and stuff, but she's not on the court the whole time. So I'll be in the hotel room working away and then just stop to go to her matches or whatever, So I totally get that. Quench Press says, I don't like Adobe's business model. I also resent them for buying Macromedia and killing fireworks. Yeah, I wouldn't even call it a love-hate relationship with Adobe. Like, I get why they do what they do, but I'm not like a Adobe a defender or whatever you want to call it. Like everyone else, I was really worried when they went to the subscription business model. I think they've more than lived up to their end of the bargain on that. So that's been good. Like, people were afraid they were just going to take the money and not deliver, but they've been really, really good about updates and stuff. And they've been fair about pricing for students and teachers, and they've made Photoshop more accessible for a lot of people. So there's a lot of good that's come out of it. But at the same time, their whole business model is just about keeping you inside their walled garden. And I understand that. I mean, I'm an Apple user. I definitely understand the walled garden. But the way Adobe goes about it, I personally think is wrong sometimes. Like, their approach to iPad apps has just, in my opinion, not been handled very well, because it's all about, you can do this one little thing on your iPad and then hand it off to your desktop. And I'm like, you don't understand why people want to use the iPad then, right? They don't want it to use the desktop. They don't want to hand it off to the desktop. They don't see their iPad as a handicap or a liability or less than their computer. They see it as better than, as the next thing, as, the next generation. And unfortunately, Adobe looks at it as less than. And as long as they have that mentality, they're never going to get it right, because that's not how their users see it. And so they need to get on the same page with their users. Whereas Procreate was like, hey, let's make the most kick-ass image editing program on the iPad. And guess what? All the users said, hell yeah. And then there's stuff like Clip Studio, which I admit I haven't got past their interface on the iPad. That it's not to my liking, but it's very powerful. I understand a lot of people love it. I understand why they love it. It's clearly like an app that was ported from a desktop to the iPad platform, but it works. And it works really well for a lot of people. And I'm sure if I had more patience that I would like it more than I do. But, part of that is that I was already using Procreate, so I I didn't spend the time with it, Oh, Evan's like, yeah, I'm one of those Californians that moved to Oregon. Well, I knew that, Evan. I meant like right now. Evan says, I don't understand how Clip Studio can release a full version of the iPad, but Photoshop releases the crap they did. Yeah, I know. And Photoshop finally came out with their full version, and guess what? Nobody cares, and nobody's using it because, I don't want to say it's crap. I'm just going to say that, it doesn't live up to what they kept promising people, And it's not like their software is bad. It's just that there's other choices out there now that are as good or better, that are more accessible to more people more of the time, at better price points. So it's hard to compete with. Like, what's their new thing? Fresco. So Fresco is supposed to replace Adobe Sketch and Adobe Draw on one app. Fresco has an amazing brush engine, right? But guess what? Few people care because it's so handicapped in so many other areas, and it's missing so many of the features that people liked from either Sketch or Draw. I'm a big time Draw user, right? Like, I love Adobe Draw, like with a passion. I make most of my poster art in Adobe Draw, and they're like, we want you to switch to Fresco. We want you to switch to Fresco. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, why would I? You took out 2/3 of the features that I use. Yeah, but you can do it like this, sort of, or you can do it like that, sort of. And I'm like, I don't want a sort of. If I want a sort of, I'll use freeware. We're paying you. And that's the difference, especially with their iPad apps. If you're not a Creative Cloud subscriber, they want like $10 a month for that app. So that's $120 a year for an app that doesn't even hold a candle, doesn't even come close to what Procreate can do, and is much harder to use. So why would anybody do that? Evan says, flattening is hard in Procreate. Yeah, I want to know if it's better with their new lasso tool. But yeah, I think so too. Quench Press says, have you tried Infinity? I have downloaded it, but I have not. I have some friends that swear by it, and I hear it's really good. I really wanted to try their vector app. There's a couple of other vector apps that I've used professionally for map making in the Middle East and stuff, and for typography. And they're getting a little long in the tooth, as they say. So I would definitely consider something like Affinity if it would work for me. But it is sort of a weird irony that all the time I've been spent doing like traditional drawings here on Twitch is when I normally would have been doing digital illustrations on iPad. So who knows? We'll incorporate some of that into Patreon, I think. All right. I'm glad you guys convinced me to do the color today. This is fun. I'm having a good time. I hope you are too. And let me tell you, I can rant about digital art and software all day long, so not that you want to hear it. They're the ghost with the most. Ghost host with the most. Okay, another trivia question. Does anybody know the name of the voice actor who was the narrator on the original Haunted Mansion attraction? Very, very famous voice actor. You probably remember his voices from stuff like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Tons of old movies and TV shows, including some Disney stuff. They always said he was really difficult to work with. They said he was good, but he knew he was good, and he'd be the first person to tell you. I'll give you a hint. His last name is Cold as Ice. Quenchpress says the iPad app is $19.99. They have 3 desktop apps at $49.99 each. They usually do a Black Friday deal that's 20% off, I think. Upgrades included, one price for lifetime. They have PC and Mac. Yeah, I've heard really good things about Infinity, or Affinity, excuse me, Quench. So I'll admit that's just me being lazy, right? I'm like, I've got the apps that I like, and that's what I'm using. And blah, blah, blah. Like, I hear the new stuff, I'm like, yeah, I should check that out. And then I haven't, but I know that I should. And now I'll see for research for Patreon. Now I'll have a reason to like dive in. You guys you're pushing me to work harder. Oh wait, don't they say you're supposed to work smarter, not harder? Maybe this is the opposite of that. I'm not sure. What do we think, guys? What else should I do to this? I'm debating, do I leave it really clean like it is, or do I do like a blue glow around the edges? Or would that just distract from it? Don't want it to look messy or sloppy or anything. The voice actor's name is Paul Frees, by the way. He's one of those once you hear his voice once, you know it's him. You're like, oh yeah, that guy. Quenchpress says, well, if a new app helps you do things easier, it could be work a little harder to then have it easier. Oh, that's nicely said, Quench. Nicely said. You might be convincing me. Not too bad. Not looking too bad. Let's do a little... I don't know, they're ghosts. Do they throw a shadow? Do they throw a shadow on the ground, or do they not throw a shadow on the ground? These are the questions we need answers to, people. We don't even know how this ghost thing works. Someday I'll find out. I'll find out all about being a ghost someday. And when I come back, I'll haunt you all. I promise. Those guys are looking cute now. Quinch says, that said, I've owned the Affinity Suite for a few years and only do certain things with it that I can't do in Paint.net. Paint.net meets most of my needs and is easy, but the things I can't do are frustrating, so I really should get better with Affinity. I understand that. It's just, you know how it is, man. You get comfortable with the thing you know, and it's hard. It's hard to switch. Get this guy a little bit more shadow under his jawline here. Help his little ghostly head pop off his body a little bit. I don't know. What do we think, guys? See anything I missed? Anything that needs some love? Oh, thank you for the follow. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for following. My name's Brian Miller. I do a lot of art commissions on Twitch, Disney, Star Wars. Do streaming on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and sometimes some bonus streams on Fridays. And then tonight is our Thursday Night Treasure Show at 7 p.m. So feel free to come back and check us out. Oh, thank you. Right? Is it Ryu Tar? Oh, see, I got a tongue twister. Ryu Tarui? You're going to have to spell it out for phonetic for me. Sorry about that. But thank you for the kind words and thanks for following. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Evan. Quinch Press says, when you try something new, though, and it really works, you can be like, where have you been all my life? Yeah, man, I know that feeling. I know that. Like the first time I used Photoshop, I was like, this is for me. Especially after using some other art apps and stuff before that. I was like, oh, I was born to do this. You know, that's how I felt about coloring. I was born for this. Okay, guys. Well, I think, unless we see something I missed, I think that's our sketch for today. So let me sign it, and then we'll run the credits. I think we had a couple of cheers early on, so we probably have something good for the credits today. But again, don't forget, 7 o'clock tonight, Thursday Night Treasures with Brian and Christy. We'll be talking all about our adventures in the Middle East, and I'll be sketching and painting